Alright, today I'm going to teach you complex number under 8 is basic operations of complex number. In my previous video, I've talked about the introduction of complex number. So these are some questions we are going to solve: the addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division of complex number. Note this: when you have I in this an expression, any of this expression, it means what? Root -1. And we have I raised to the power of 2, it means -1. We are going to use this to solve for the multiplication and that of the division. So let's get started. Now the number one, you have bracket open 3 plus 4i plus 6 minus 2i. Now this implies that, now look at, I will open this bracket. There is invisible plus here. There is a plus here. So if I have plus at this outside, it's very easy. Just collect the like, just bring everything out. You have 3 plus 4i plus 6 minus 2i. Now collect like terms. When you collect like terms, this plus this, 6 plus 3 will give us 9. Then you have plus 4i minus 2i. Now, our final answer will now be 9 plus 2i as our final answer. Now, let's go to the second part of it. The second part of it is 2, bracket open, 8 minus 5i minus 3 plus 7i. Now, if you check where this is what? This is subtraction. So let us collect like terms. Now, before you collect like terms, use this sign outside to open this bracket. You have 8 minus 5i. Use this negative to open. This times the plus that is here, give you minus 3. This times the plus that is here, in front of this 7i, will give us minus 7i. So this implies collect like terms, collect like terms. Okay? So when you collect the like terms, this will come to this, which is 8 minus 3. Then we have minus 5i minus 7i. Now, this will give us 5 minus 12i as our final answer. Now, let's come to the number 3, which is the multiplication aspect. You have 3 plus 2i, bracket through, bracket close. We have 4 minus I. Now, you use your normal algebraic expression, whereby you use this bracket to open this bracket. So first of all, let us use 3 to multiply this and use 3 to multiply this. We end up having 3 times 4. This implies that 3 times 4 will give us 12. Then 3 times 1. This place here is 1i that is in this place, just like this one has 2i. This place is 1i. So 3 times I will give us minus, because there is minus here, minus 3i. Now we are done using 3 to multiply everything in this bracket. Now we use this 2i to multiply this, and use this 2i to multiply 4, and 2i to multiply I. So 2i, there's plus here, so everything will be plus. 2i times 4 will give us 8i. Now, remember, the name of this I, or this part, is called what? Imaginary part. Why this is called what? Real part. Go to my introductory part. You will see I'll explain all these areas. Now, this other part is what? 2i. Remember, there is minus here. 2i. Now, the i's will be raised to the power of 2. And you can recall from this place that I raised to the power of 2 is minus 1. So this implies, after collecting like terms, this take away 3i from 8i. You have 12 plus 5i. Now this will give us minus 2 minus 1, which this implies 12 plus 5i plus 2. Now the reason why this 2 is coming to this place, I put a bracket here because this particular place should be inside a bracket, because 2 is multiplying this. So it will be now minus 2 times what? Minus 1. So minus times minus in mathematics is plus. So you have plus 2. Add it together. Your final answer becomes 14 plus 5i. Now let's go to the last part of these operations. We have number 4. We have 5 plus 3i all divided by 2 minus I. Now, in this division, we have a unique pattern of solving division parts. You are going to use the conjugates. And the conjugate of this, the conjugate is, you are focusing on your denominator. And anything you call conjugate under this part is to change the sign there. That is, your conjugate will now be what? 2 plus I as your conjugate. Use it. That is, let me use the word. Use conjugate to multiply numerator and denominator. This implies that I will use bracket as multiplication plus 5 plus 3i times 2 plus I for the numerator, and then 2 minus I times 2 plus I. Now this is the procedure for solving division. Let me take away this part. So at this point now, let us multiply, just like we did for the multiplication aspect. Let us multiply, solve for the numerator, and solve for the denominator. Now come to this part. It's just like what we have done previously. Use this bracket to multiply this bracket. Now, 5 times 2. This implies 5 times 2 will give us 10. 5 times 2. Use this one to multiply this, and then still use this one again to multiply I. So 5 times this 2 will give us 10. Now, still use this 5 to multiply. Remember, there's plus 5 here. There's plus I here. So 5 times I will give us plus 5i. At this point, we are able to use this 5 to multiply everything on this numerator, this part of the bracket. So now I want to use plus 3i to multiply everything. Plus 3i times 2 will give us plus 6i. That is just like 3 times 2. Okay. Then this plus 3i times I will give us plus 3i squared. Is the I that is being squared. All divided by, now, the same pattern we use on the numerator, we want to use it on the denominator. Use this 2 to multiply all these brackets. Use this 2, this first number here, to multiply all the brackets. 2 times 2 will give us 4. 2 times I will give us plus 2i. Now we are done using this first number to multiply everything. Now I want to use this minus I to multiply everything here. Minus I times 2 will give us minus 2i. Minus I times plus I will give us minus I squared. So let us work on the up and the down, the numerator and the denominator. Now if you observe well, these two will cancel because here is plus 2i, here is minus 2i. They will cancel out. Very good. Okay, now if we check here, there's a like terms here. This plus this will give us, we have 10 plus, this will give us 11i plus. Now watch here. Remember, recall that I squared is equals to minus 1. So let us replace that. We have 3 times minus 1 all divided by 4 minus, remember here, minus 1. Because originally it has minus here, and this expression is minus 1. So that is how we have this. So now this implies that I have 10 plus 11i. This time this will give us minus 3, all divided by 4 plus 1, which will finally have, remember these two, they are like terms. You take away 3 from this man, will give us 7 plus 11i, all divided by 5. So, because of our complex, because of our imaginary number here and our real number here, and it's having a same denominator, we therefore will now say our final answer will be 7 divided by 5 plus 11 divided by 5i. Remember in mathematics, whenever a fraction is multiplying a single number, the single number goes to the up. So this I is affecting both the numerator and the denominator. So we have talked about the addition, subtraction, multiplication of complex number. Now we want to talk about solving quadratic problem. In some cases, you will observe that you cannot factorize easily. You use the formula method or completing the square method. You will end up having this kind of an expression whereby using the formula x is equal to b minus b plus or minus roots b squared minus 4ac all divided by 2a. Now, this expression here, which is here, when it is less than 0, that is when you relate it to complex number. So now let's solve the number 1. The number 1 says, I have x squared plus 9 equals to 0. At this point, your a is 1. You don't have your b. You have just your c. So in this kind of case, we don't need to just substitute into this place. We just collect items, and then this is what I mean. I collecting items, take this side to this one. We have this is equal to negative 9. Now negative 9. Now take the square root of both sides. Taking the square root of both sides, taking square roots of both sides. Now when you take the square root of both sides, the square root will cancel this power 2 to give you just x. It will now produce plus or minus 9 plus or minus 9. Okay, at this point, taking the square root of both sides. Okay, let me just make it clearer. You know, when you take the root of both sides, you have roots. You have squared here. Then it's equals to root negative 9. Now, from this root negative 9, it has already shown us that you have, but before that, observe, when you take a root of both sides, you have plus or minus outside. That is the procedure. So this root will cancel, this power 2 will cancel this root. You have x is equal to plus or minus root minus 9. Now, this minus 9 is now what? Complex number. This is where the complex number comes in, where this is negative 9. So the only way we are going to do it, we have x is equal to plus or minus, we have 3i. Now, where is this 3i coming from? If you want to take away this negative, it's always in this form. Plus, let's leave the plus. We want to take away this, we have minus 1 times root 9. This is how this I comes from. Remember, this root minus 1 is the same thing as just I. So if I have this as this expression is the same thing as just this root minus 9, you agree with me that and you know that this is I. You agree with me that this will give us this value. This, and then x now will now be what? Plus 3i or minus 3i, which is our final answer. Okay, remember this expression is the same thing as, forget about this plus or minus. This expression is the same thing as this. This is the only way you can take away negative to get this 3. You know, root this will give us what? Root 9 will give us just 3. Root 9 will give us 3. That is where this 3 comes in. But the I is in this replace of what? Root minus 1. Now let's go to the second one. The second one is x squared. Number 2, x squared plus 2x plus 5 equals to 0. Now, if we check very well, we cannot use factorization method. So the only method we use is the formula method, which is this b minus b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac all divided by 2a. So now our a is 1, this first number here. Our b is equal to plus 2, the coefficient. Then our c is equal to 5. Now let's substitute into the value. We have x is equal to, what is our b? We have minus 2 plus or minus root. We have our b is 2. So we have 2 squared minus 4 times, what is our a? Our a is 1 times, what is our c? Our c is 5. All divided by 2 times 1, which is same thing as 2. So we have minus 2 plus or minus, bracket open. Now this will give us 4 minus 20, all divided by 2, which will give us minus 2 plus or minus. Now, if you subtract this, you 4, take away 4 from this, you have minus 16 all over 2. Now, this is where the complication comes in. In this aspect, if we don't use complex number format, we cannot continue. This is where we'll end our final answer, because our calculator cannot give us minus root 16. Press your calculator, you see that it will give you error. So now what do? We imply this principle that states that for you to take away this negative value, you have minus 2 plus or minus, you have let me just walk it straight. You have minus 1 times root what? 16, all divided by 2. You know where the root 6 this negative 1 is coming from. Remember, there is a minus here. So for you to take away this minus, you replace it. Remember, you look at this place now, there is no more minus here. This minus has been replaced with root minus 1. And root minus 1 is same thing as I. So minus 2 plus or minus, you have, what is the, you have I here. This is I. What is the square root of 16? Square root of 16 is 4. So you have 4i all divided by 2. So we have two values there, which is equal to minus 2 all over 2 plus or minus 4i all over 2. Okay, and this will be our so at this point, what you need to do, just this divided by this and this divided by this. This is 1, this is 2. So we have minus 1 plus or minus 2. So our final answer will be minus 1 minus 2, or remember there's I here. So minus 1 minus 2i, or minus 1 plus 2. Okay, this is plus. Let's take the plus first, minus 2i. And this becomes our final answer.